Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to my garden. This morning I wanted to take you through a little bit of an update on my shade garden that you see here. And my shade garden has gone under some tough times because I'm a fairly beginning gardener, and at first I planted what I really liked and wanted for my butterfly and hummingbird garden, and there's things that did not go well. The first thing I want to talk about, what I planted here, was something I absolutely love. And I planted many different varieties of coral bells or Heuchera. I love the foliage. I love the different colors of the foliage. I even really like the flowers, and my pollinators love the flowers. They did not do well in this soil that I have, and I'll go into that in a minute. Another plant that I really wanted to be successful here in my shade garden was a bleeding heart, and that also did not like this space. In addition to multiple different types of hostas, I love the foliage color of hostas, and they did not like this either. So to give a little context, I garden in Zone 9A along the upper Gulf Coast, and I have heavy clay soil, compacted heavy clay soil, and it really is a challenge. Of course, I found out that Heuchera and hostas and the bleeding hearts did not like that type of soil at all. And to give you some other context, is we can get lots of rain dropped in our area, and it doesn't necessarily drain off well or quickly because of the heavy clay. And a few years ago, Hurricane Harvey came into Texas, and even though we did not get the brunt of the hurricane, we got the huge rain event. And in my location, 41 inches of rain were dropped in a 3 to 4 day period, and it was insane. That can happen here. We can easily get 3, 4, 5 inches of rain, and a couple days later get the same thing. And so plants have to be able to handle that. Even though I have amended this soil and I have used cotton burr compost, which helps break up heavy clay soil, and the worm action has been great, and that helps also. It's a challenge. So as you can see, I have Coleus, and my Caladiums have started to come, and so I'm going to share with you what has worked in this garden. One of my favorite Coleuses is from Proven Winners in their ColorBlaze series called Sedona Sunset that you can see here. And let me bring up the tag. Sedona Sunset has this beautiful auburn-colored foliage, and it does grow tall, as you can see here, 24 to 40 inches. And this is probably one of my favorite Coleuses because the auburn colors are just gorgeous, and because it gets upwards of it branches out beautifully, and it will get 40 inches tall. I have this in the back. Okay, next one. I really like the color variations on this particular Coleus. It is called Riverwalk, and this Coleus will get to be about 12 to 24 inches tall. It's one of the shorter ones that I have, and so I have this planted in my midsection of this bed. As I get closer, oh my goodness, I just love the color of this foliage. This is the shortest the shortest Coleus that I have in my bed, and it is called Ruby Slipper. Ruby Slipper here is supposed to be about 14 to 24 inches So I will definitely see how tall. This is a first year for me to have Ruby Slipper. I'm curious to see what it does in my bed so far. They have been beautiful. You can see they're all along the front of this bed. They're growing beautifully. I'm very hopeful that this does well because I love this ruby color. This Coleus looks very vigorous. It is growing, growing, growing. And I love this chartreuse color on the leaf. This is called Stained Glassworks Big Blonde. And this Coleus, I have it in the midsection also. It is supposed to be a little bit shorter than my favorite back there. It's supposed to be 10 to 30 inches, but it is way more than 10 inches right now. So I'm real curious to see where this is going to go. I have this Coleus in a pot, and it's just a little bit different, and so I'm going to try this out in a pot. I am drawn to different foliage color, and so this one I thought had a very interesting color to it. This is called Kingwood Torch, and this is the first year I've tried Kingwood Torch. I have baby Coleus that are starting from seed, and I was so happy because I really liked this. This was red wine Coleus, and it was really pretty in the landscape last year, but I was not able to dig it up and save it during our winter horrible freeze event that we had in December. And what do you know? I have a couple little seedlings, and so I'm curious to see how they are able to do in my landscape this year. For those of you that grow caladiums, you know that the hotter it is, the better. And I just got these caladiums from my favorite nursery, and I don't have the tags with me, but I love to put caladiums in pots throughout this garden, and I have a couple more that I'm going to share. When I'm placing caladiums around the garden bed, I like to use contrasting colors, and this always catches my eye, and I'll always have a variation of this type of caladium with the beautiful light color and the darker green around the edges. One of the first plants I ever bought was a caladium at Home Depot, and this will be the third year that this caladium has come up in this pot, and it just tickles me because it is tried and true, and it is more of a green caladium with the red specks in it, and for nostalgia I keep it because it is very dependable. Okay, you might ask, why do you have sweet potato vine in your shade bed? And that is a really good question. Believe it or not, it grows beautifully in this shade bed. And I have two. I've got the chartreuse color and that dark purple color. This one actually came back on its own. And I know you have to be real careful with it, but golly, in the shade bed, it doesn't get out of control. And again, like I've told you, I just love the different and contrasting colors. And I did have one of my red wine Coleuses that I liked, and I had a tiny little baby, and I thought, let's see what it does, and it is growing. So we'll see if it's able to continue to grow. So thank you for joining me today in my gardens where I talked about my shade bed, what didn't work for me, and ultimately what I have found that does work for me. I hope you all have a great day today, and hopefully you can get into your gardens.